Hey everybody, it's Rajesh here.
Intane here.
Welcome to our podcast, Baskets of Knowledge, Chats with a Difference. In our podcast, we invite guests from around the country and around the world to talk about how they got to where they're at the moment. It's about a journey, it's about an experience, it's about their life. Kia ora koutou, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Baskets of Knowledge. Hopefully you have all put something to your basket of knowledge since you last heard the podcast. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. If you're a returning listener, great to have you back again. Tane is not here today. It's just me and our awesome guest. And as always, I like to share something that I put into my basket of knowledge. And the one thing that I want to share with you all is this little thing about presence and connection. And the way I like to think about it is it's a mobile phone. We all have mobile phones, and a mobile phone is always either connected or present. And I use the word always in inverted commas. However, when you go to sleep and you put your mobile phone next to you, the mobile phone is present in your room, but it is not connected. Or it's connected to the internet, but you're not present in it, whichever way you look at it. Also, when the mobile phone battery dies, it is still present, but it's not connected to anything. So what is that going to do with the thing that I'm talking about? I'd like to think about that as you as a person. When you're in a room or you're talking to somebody, are you present and connected? Or are you just present but not connected? Or are you connected and not present? And that's just a thought for you to think about. And, as you go into your day-to-day life, think about the times that you are 100% present, 100% connected, and the difference that makes to yourself and to the person that you're engaging with. That's just a thought for you to think about, and I'm pretty sure our guest today might have something to say about that as well. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest. This is a person that I am inspired by. You hear the word inspired by me quite a bit because I'm inspired by all my guests. This is a person that I've seen on their LinkedIn. This is where we connected, and just watching their growth from where they were to where they are, but not just the growth of their presence, but also the growth of their vulnerability about what they're sharing and who they are as a human being. It is also someone that I've had the pleasure of meeting in person, and which has been really, really beautiful. But it's someone that has many hats in their lives, but also how they navigate those hats there. So it's my absolute pleasure, absolute privilege to welcome to Baskets of Knowledge, Amelia. Kia ora, Amelia, and welcome.
Here, Rajesh. Thank you for having me and for the lovely intro.
No worries, it's all true, Amelia. Amelia, for people who know nothing about you, who is Amelia today on the 28th of April 2026?
Yeah, I know. Gosh, we're in April already.
Yeah.
I'm Amelia Robinson, and I am a mum of three. I have a lot of hats, like you say. I own two businesses, so I have the Little Rainbow Company and Robinson Building, which I co-own with my husband, and that's a building organization. The Little Rainbow Company is a baby and kids store, and we are online now, which is amazing. I work full-time, just starting a new role next month, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Amazing. It's like you said, lots of hats there, and I'd love to, as a first question, think about, if you think about Amelia when she was 18 or 19, and someone said to you, hey Amelia, you are going to be a mom of three, you are going to own two businesses, and you're going to be working as well, and you're going to be pretty epic on social media, what would you have said to that person?
I probably would have been very shocked. At 18 and 19, I was first year university, and I was probably more concerned about week than my future. But yeah, I would be really impressed, and glad to know that uni paid off, and all the hard work that I'm doing at the moment would lead me somewhere, even though I had no idea where I was going to be at the time.
Yeah, and I think about the trajectory. I just read a little article just before I jumped on about the conversations that people have about, is the degree going to lead to somewhere? If you think about the degree you did and the study you've done and the pathway you've come along, are the two related, or has there been so many side quests that actually where you are is a little bit different to where you thought you might be?
That is a good question. So my degree was in international business and human resource management. And for ages, I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I thought, I liked HR, so I'll major in that. But then I did some business papers and loved them. So ended up being like, I really want to major in international business as well. And that's kind of what I've done basically and used the most out of my degree and my career and life. I never actually got into HR. I mean, I got a admin role when I first started, but then I moved into something completely different, as you do. But I don't think it went to waste because learning about that and learning about caring for your people has helped with the staff that we've had in our businesses as well. So it has benefited in that way.
Yeah, and I love that because a lot of people say they have the saying, "Oh, you go to university and you wasted your time with a degree that doesn't get you the job that you are doing right now." But as you say, everything's a learning. There's no wasted learning at all.
Absolutely. I think the day I stop learning is probably the day I die.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's really important as well. And it just shows that you can stick to something that's really, really hard. Like, I don't know if I could do that again. It's so hard. And I wasn't extremely disciplined as I am now in terms of you, I'll leave an assignment to a last minute sometimes and pull it all-nighter. It was just, I got through it and I'm really proud of achieving something and finishing it.
Yeah, and I love the reality there because I think about myself. If I go back to study right now, will I be able to do it? I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to do it because, as you say, in that time frame of your life, it's just so intense, but you get it done. And now we have different pressures and different intensities that maybe the study may or may not happen at the same level. We might be better students, but might not be there for a long time. If that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm curious, Amelia. What I love about you is how you navigated your presence online. And I talk about that because we live in a world where everything is just continue online. But before we talk about how you navigated, I'd love you to let our listeners know about how it all started for you.
Yeah, of course. So being in business, you basically have to show up online now. And if you don't, you're missing out on massive opportunity to reach a wider audience from the comfort of your home or your shop or wherever you are. So I quickly realized the importance and the impact it can have. But how to do it was the challenge. So what would people want to see? Would they even want to see me? And I had to get over that fear of putting my face online and fear of being judged, basically. But once you do it and you try, and yes, sometimes it felt embarrassing. I still feel that pit in my stomach sometimes when I post. But at the end of the day, no one really cares. They're all just busy living their own lives. And they don't care if you got a word wrong or mixed up what you're saying. They don't even know. It's just literally you in your own mind that will remember it. Like if no one's going to remember it in 5 years, I'll only worry about things for the 5 minutes. And that's the mindset that I have. It's just get into it and do it and see it grow. And the more I've practiced, the better I've become. In the early days as well, I did a lot of courses to educate myself on that because it obviously wasn't a strong point. So I did the cohort with Stan at the Attention Seeker, which was really good, and just surrounded myself by other people and other business owners that were in the same position, growing their audience as well. So we had that connection.
Yeah, and I love that. And what I love as well, that's the basis, but I love how you've made it your own. You speak about the fear, but I've seen how you've shifted the narrative just from purely business to also who Amelia is. And what is that like for you? Because, we spoke about business, but you are the business. And what does that shift for you when you went, actually, hey, let me talk about myself as well?
I At first, I didn't realize the impact it would have, but then I think when I get the feedback from customers who I haven't met in person or people that came into the store and they said, it was really funny when you did this. And I completely forgot about, I think there was a story where I got to work and I had my dress on backwards and I made a story about it. And it was a bit silly. And then this lady remembered like a year later that story and she related with that. So that showed me the power of connection online and really showing your authentic self online and being silly is relatable. Like I'm probably not the first mum to do that. You're tired, you're working, you probably need to have another coffee. And yeah, it was just nice to share that with somebody.
Oh, I love that. Real beats AI all day, right? With AI coming up, those stories are real. You can't script them; they just happen, and you capture them. And it's funny you say that because we've all had that moment in our lives where we have worn something the wrong way around. Um, have I worn my pants the wrong way around with the zip on the back? Maybe, I don't know. That would be awkward, but yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I'll try that tomorrow at work and see what happens. And thinking about what you just said there, about your customers. What I would love to know about as well is how did Little Rainbow actually come to be? Because as you said before, you were working. Yeah, let's talk about the origin story about Little Rainbow.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my whole life, I've always wanted to start a business. I've always wanted to do something. And when I became a mum with my first child, I was buying a lot of products online that were inaccessible from local retail stores here in New Plymouth. And I really wished that there was somewhere I could go locally where I could get my hands on these things, stuff that people actually use as mums, and stuff that's actually good quality that could get passed down, anything organic and things like that. So I decided to bring it here, and it snowballed from that and that idea. Initially, I was going to start online, but then I found a cute little spot downtown and I fell in love with it and I could see the vision. So we jumped in and brought it physically into our town, which was so nice. It was really cool to be the only baby store in the middle of town and share that with the community.
Yeah, and as you think about that, what is it like with you navigating that while you had your first young person in your life, and then the second one and the third one?
So I didn't actually start when it was, I started when I had my third, I think it was. Gosh, yeah, it was my third. Um, and she was still little and I got bored. I know, yeah, I just felt like I needed to do something and I wanted to change and do something for myself. So I thought I'll jump in and I'll do it. And I remember like looking at photos even now, and my kids were so little and she was just a baby. And I'm like, what was I thinking? But somehow got through it and she became part of the journey. And so did the other kids as well. They all, they loved it. They loved helping me pick what would be good. And if they liked it, of course other kids are going to like it from their school or their kindy. And they were good to test products on that I hadn't tried as well to make sure that we were bringing in quality. The hardest part about having kids when you have a store, though, is they just think everything's free. Like they just want everything and they don't quite get the concept. Well, back then they didn't, that we actually pay for this stuff as well and it isn't free. So that was a challenge when they'd come in and be really excited. But I loved having them as part of the journey and seeing them grow up now. My oldest no longer fits into anything or is interested in the toys because he's past the stage, which breaks my heart. Um, but yeah, love having them as part of the journey.
Amazing. And as also part of the journey is how did you manage the juggle? So you mentioned um, you're running a business, you have these young people, but also you have to still make the business be a business. It's all cool and fun and amazing. You've got your clients right there or your babies, but what about you looking after yourself in the business world? And was that a lonely journey or was it a journey that you managed to find people to navigate with?
Yeah, well, it's definitely challenging because there's so much going on, and I found I'd constantly put myself last. So, to be honest, like for ages, it was just hustle and grind, kids first, business first, and then I didn't even really do much for myself for the first few years, unfortunately. But now we have made the shift to go online. That's made life easier. And I'm starting to get into things for myself as well, like pickleball and Pilates, which is nice. But back then as well, honestly, I wouldn't have been able to do it with staff when we did have the physical store. They were amazing. So when things would pile up, they were happy to take on uh, work and help me load products to the website, for example, and learn a few more skills in the back end of systems. So once they learnt all of that, it definitely helped my life and being able to have a bit more freedom.
Yeah, and I think it's important that you raise that, having a business is hard enough as it is. Being a mum as well is a rewarding but also challenging, and put the two together and it becomes an interesting mix. But what I loved is you said something right at the start, which I think comes through, is through your HR study, you realize the importance of people and having people in your team, and it shows that having those staff in your team really did help you in those times there.
Yes, definitely. They're amazing. It's the people that make it right,
Yeah.
and the customers love them as well. So yeah, I don't know what I would have done without them.
Oh, and I love that for them, but also I love that for Taranaki and for New Plymouth having someone that's local as well. Talking about local, the name Little Rainbow, where did that come from?
Well, I call my three kids my little rainbows, and there's also another meaning behind it. So after my first child, Miles, was born, I got pregnant again, which was exciting. But unfortunately, we lost it. And so that was really sad. And I didn't realize how hard it would be. Like, it really was really sad. So we called it our rainbow baby. And so that's also tied in with the name as well. And part of that journey made me realize like why we have to keep that a secret. So, when you're early and you get to 12 weeks and it's like, oh, we can tell everyone who actually made that societal rule up. And it got me thinking that that's actually something that needs to be talked about because it's a stigma we need to get rid of. Because we should be able to announce that we are pregnant and we're excited. And whatever happens, we have that support from people, or we can continue to be excited if it all goes well. So I just wanted to open up that conversation. And I did that online as well, which was scary, but there were a lot of people that resonated with that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that there. And I think this is where I really have connected with you, because the deeper level of things that you bring is really profound. As you shared with the story here, it's a deeper story. And when you shared that story and the 12-week rule, what was one of the most interesting pieces of feedback that you got as you shared that story?
The biggest thing for me was the stories from other women and mums that had been through the same situation and them sharing that. And especially there was a lady who had shared and then not long after announced that she unfortunately lost it. And seeing my post helped to inspire her to be able to be comfortable with sharing that news. But the outpour of comments and support that people provide and comment on these posts, not just mine, but other people as well, has been so supportive. So I think making people feel less alone is the biggest goal, and knowing that it's so normal, unfortunately, but it's it's okay to talk about it, and it's okay for that to happen, and it's not your fault.
Yeah. And isn't there a disconnect here with the world when things that are so normal, but we can't talk about it? So how is it normal that we can't talk about it? There's a huge
Yeah,
disconnect there, right?
exactly. It's just this weird societal thing. And yeah, I don't know where that stigma or shame comes from back in the day. It's almost like, oh, you announced it and now it's wrong. And people can feel embarrassed about it, but actually we shouldn't. So yeah, I think that's something that if I can get anything out of Little Rainbow, it would be awesome to put the flame out of that stigma in the world, or even at least to some people.
Yeah, and I think it's also opens up the conversation that hey, it's okay to be excited that you are going to be a parent, and also that hey, if or the journey ends in a certain way, it's okay because there's people around you that are there to support you
Yeah.
should they choose to, but also because they know the story. It's not just a, oh out of the blue. And I think this is
Yes.
what I see some like, oh, we didn't know, so it becomes even way more awkward. Like, oh, okay, I didn't know, so it becomes
Yeah.
really awkward.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
one of the other things that I love to you to talk about is you have really leaned into something that again is normal but not spoken about, is the world of imposter syndrome. And I'd love to know and share with our listeners why that's become such a big part of your story as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, I love the topic, and I love that it's becoming more spoken about commonly around the world at the moment. Back in the day, as you say, my 18, 19-year-old self would never have thought I'm doing the things that I do today. And I still sometimes have that voice in my head that's like, what are you doing? Can you do it? um, but recognizing that if you actually listen to those thoughts, it'll hold you back. And I think you have a good point in some of your opinions in your posts where you say instead of thinking what's the worst that can happen, what's the best that can happen. And so having that mindset change actually does help you grow, because I never would have been able to do this or even start a business or hit, um, you know, subscribe to the company's register kind of thing if I didn't have that mindset of like, just do it anyway. Yes, you're going to have those thoughts, but if you don't do it now, you'll never do it, or you'll keep putting it off. Like, your brain's really, really good at coming up with reasons why you shouldn't do something if it's scary. And a lot of the time when it does do that, it means you're actually in a period of growth.
Yeah, and it's because you allow yourself, and I love the fact you said about the brain, because I love the brain. The brain will repeat the stories that you keep telling it, and I'm sure you know this, Amelia, but if our listeners out there, here's a crazy fact that I learned about early in the piece, was that 90% of your thoughts you have every single day are repetitive, and out of those 90%, almost 40 to 50% of those are negative. So if we think about that, if 90% is the same thing and if 40 50% are negative, what are you telling yourself every single day? That is not true, but your brain lets you believe that there. So, as you switch the question off from what is the worst to what is the best, slowly but surely your brain starts to change. But the other thing is we feel guilty doing that, right? Because like I said before, the world has told us a story that you've got to think about the worst thing, expect the worst, expect the worst, prepare for the worst, all these narratives, and we just lean into that there.
Absolutely. Yeah, your mind is such a powerful thing. And it sounds cliche, but the more positive you think about yourself and just believe in yourself, the better things will be.
Yeah, one of the greatest books I've read, which I recommend to everyone out there, is The Inner Game by Timothy Galloway. If anyone wants to think about or rethink about how they think, The Inner Game by Timothy Galloway is a fantastic read. It just talks about, and it's very real because we do that every single day. And one of the things that I've become really aware of is awareness is awesome, but once you become aware, what are you doing about it? And then once you're aware, you start making choices, and then you choose not to, or you choose to do something there. So it just shifts the way you think about things. But also, Amelia, as I'm sure you'll agree with me, it's all cool that we say these things, but doing is sometimes really hard.
Yeah, it is hard doing it. I think some of the things that help me to put my mind into focusing on the positives is writing it down and doing all the things that people might find cheesy, but that's just me. I love a vision board. I did one when I was younger, and everything pretty much came true on it. Like, I wanted to go to London and do all this sort of stuff, and I made it all happen. And also writing goals or having set goals for long term, and being able to break it up. So I personally do it like by the time I'm 30 or by the time I'm 35, and I want this. And whether it happens sometimes, not all of them work obviously, but it just helps to give you a bit of a mind dump and a plan for what's going forward. And subconsciously, you kind of work towards those goals.
Yeah, it's really powerful. I love what you just said. The vision board, the goals, the little goals, the big goals, and I think a lot of us, myself included, we think about the what, and then we get caught up in the how many times. And when you get caught up in the how, then nothing happens because everything becomes too hard. But if you have the what up there and the why, then things change really quickly. You don't know why or how, but it happens.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. And it is because of the small things that you've done every day to get there subconsciously or intentionally. You're working towards something. And that's really important to have that purpose as well.
Yeah, it's really, it just changes the narrative and the story that you tell yourself, I find.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Um,
I'm curious again, I'm going to dig into your imposter syndrome talks because I think that's fascinating because I think every single person in the world suffers it, whether we like it or not. And I've said this before, but I listened to a podcast a few months ago with Jensen Young, the CEO, the owner of NVIDIA, the biggest AI chip thing in the world. And every day in the morning, he wakes up with imposter syndrome. Now, try and imagine this: one of the richest people in the world, who is the most successful person in the world, wakes up every single day with imposter syndrome. So, for me to say I don't have imposter syndrome is actually an actual lie because there are frames in my life when I do have it. And I love how that has gone down for you as you take this out to the people and speak about it in person and online.
yeah, absolutely. And gosh, yeah, it's amazing that a lot of the extremely successful people and high performers will have this. Like even the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, had it, and she has talked about it openly and how she overcame it. But she had to show herself as confident to the world. Otherwise, no one would believe in you if you don't yourself, even if your brain tells you this. Like Emma Watson didn't think she could act. Like, there's so many people that this affects, and even a lot of like business owners and people who I look up to as well have said, yeah, I've definitely experienced that as well. So you're not alone, and it literally just means that you care. So you're doing something that's going to grow, or there's instances as well where your mind might tell you something that is true, like yes, it is risky,
Mhm.
and yes, you may not be the best at X. So in those times, it's like, okay, how can I get better?
Yeah. And how can I get better by doing one small thing? It just has to be one small thing, right? Not a massive change the world type scenario.
Yes, exactly. I think it's there to protect you, but sometimes it does too much and it's actually not protecting
Yeah.
you in a good way. So you just need to figure out, okay, is this an area I need to actually practice and
Yeah.
get better at? Or is it something that actually that's not quite true? I am okay and I will be okay.
Yeah. And I think what I love about that is the dialogue you have with yourself. Actually to sense check if what you're saying is actually true or false.
Mm, yes. Yeah, and it can be tricky because sometimes it is true. Like
Yeah.
you might not be good at public speaking and you have to do a speech. How do
Yeah.
you practice?
That's right.
It's things like that.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. And this is why I really have been really wanted to get on here because there's such a breadth of activities involved in. There's the business, there's the your own growth as well. And I'm curious as well as you think about your role in the building and construction side. What are some things that you see that you through all your own learning that you have taken into that area? Because I could be totally incorrect here, but my assumption here is it's a male-dominant industry, and a lot of males don't like to talk about things that you are talking about openly.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, as a region as well, Taranaki has experienced that it is quite a male-dominated industry and New Zealand, um, and it can affect mental health as well. So it's not openly talked about. We're working really hard to make that more talk about and more safe, like in the trades, instead of having such a hard stance. Like you can open up, you can talk about your feelings. I think as well, builders, they work 7:30 on site till 5 and they're physical. So it's a hard job. They're out there when it's windy. Like we're complaining about the wind the past couple of days. They're out there on site. And yeah, it's hard what they do. So mental health obviously can correlate with that as well. If you haven't had a good night's sleep and you're on site, that's hard, or there might be other things going on as well, and you might not feel like you can talk about it because you have to be the hard, tough builder guy. But we really try our best to check in with all our staff and make sure we're looking after our mental health. There's a really good group here in Taranaki that get involved with mental wellness. Building Taranaki wellness, and they do a lot of events which we attend and send all the guys to. Like recently we went to one with Paddy Gower talking about his journey, and yeah, it just really opens up a space that's safe, that talks about how it's okay and other people can struggle with their mental health as well, and it's totally normal to get help, totally normal to talk about it and check in with your mates as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing, right? It's okay to not be okay, but it's also okay to ask for help, especially in an industry and also a gender where, again, it goes back to what you said before, Amelia. It's again the narrative that the world has told us about specific trades or specific genders, being able to or not being able to say or do things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who made these rules? It's just a inbuilt society that we kind of take on, I guess. But I think things are changing, and it is being more openly talked about now. And
Yes.
there's a lot more people that aren't putting a negative spin on it, as your mental health is just as important as your physical, and that's becoming more talked about, which is nice.
Yeah, and I love the impact that you have as well. I say this because we have a lot of people that talk about things, but when you're working when you're working for somebody or an industry, if your lead team doesn't believe in it, you can say all the things you want, but if the lead team or the leadership team or the person that's responsible for whatever happens next doesn't believe in it, we go nowhere.
That's so true. Yeah, it's that's so true. It is the culture that you create, and you're the one that filters it down, right? So if you are a hard no on that sort of stuff, then of course your staff aren't going to be feel comfortable taking leave and tell you why, or even getting help or taking that next step. So you really got to be open to it. That's why I love being small business, because we can, and we
Yeah,
can create that culture and make people feel valued because they are valued.
yeah, I love that. Amelia, you mentioned before that your well-being is really important, and it just segues really well from what we just said. What are some of the things that you do now to look after yourself? And I say this in a way because you juggle a lot, and what is your sanity routine, I guess?
Um, Coffee to start with, absolutely just got to have that time for myself. And even if it's 5 minutes, it starts my day off well. If I can get organized, which I'm not always organized, the day before, like with lunches and stuff, it does make my life easier. So I try my best to do that, but it doesn't always work out. And if I'm struggling, I lean on Jake. I'm like, can you just sort it? And he'll take care of um, lunches and stuff like that. But honestly, it is hard. Like, I'm not going to lie, because there's so many things that I do in my life, and I have to have a really good schedule. And I have everything in my phone, otherwise I'll forget, which is a really bad thing to do. But yeah, I just gotta book it in and then switch off, like on the weekend. That's family time. And actually spend time with the kids, because like you say, with the connection piece that you said in the beginning, like you're there, but you're working and they're playing, like you're not actually hanging out with them and creating that connection. Whereas if I book in the time and can put the phone down and not worry about the next post or packing that next order, then I'm fully present, and
Yeah,
they love it. And you just got to do that.
yeah, and that's really powerful because those moments, whether it's with your children or whether it's for yourself, um, they all compound. Everything compounds either negatively or positively, but there's always a compound effect into what you do. And also the fact that you share that this is not easy. We all see the successes and the end goal, but the everyday the everyday challenges is real, which is why I always ask every single guest about what do they do in their day-to-day life, because people don't see the day-to-day. I can't make lunch today because I just have had enough, whatever the reason, right? And again, there's no judgment. It's just this is life happens, and I think
Yeah.
that's important for us to acknowledge that life happens. And it's always easy for us to be on the sidelines and make a comment, But if you were in the same scenario, what would you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, what do you mean if you're in the same scenario? Sorry.
So, for example, like, so people are easy to comment about things. You hear about people, oh,
Oh,
Amelia should have done this year, should have done this, or British should have done this year. But to put them in the same scenario when you have no sleep or you have, what would they have done in that same scenario? And that's the question I like to just reflect back to people when they go, especially when you comment about other things. It's a bit like and I equate it to sports. We all love
yeah,
sports. Every one of us loves sports, and every one of us is the most amazing cricketer or rugby player or whatever in our lounge chairs. But put
yeah,
us into the scenario there. What we have done? Would we do anything different, or would we don't have the evidence, right? So it's
yeah, that's so true. And you're always going to get comments like that from people,
always,
especially as a mum with kids, and then it'll be someone who's never had kids or something be like, I would never let my kids run around the cafe like that. And I'm like, wait till you have them. But
yeah,
I don't know. I just ignore it now. It can be hard to ignore comments and opinions. And I think you're right. From the outside, everything looks super easy. And yeah, in theory, in a textbook world, this is what we should do. But
yeah,
that's not how life is.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it is hard. And I think people just have their own battles and they're all busy. And you show the highlight reel online, and everyone thinks that your life is super simple and easy, or
yeah,
like someone's killing it and they haven't worked that hard to do what they're doing, kind of thing. But that's
yeah,
actually not the case. We don't see the behind the scenes and all the
yeah.
hard work put in.
That's right. All the tears and the all that, all
Yeah.
the reality of just being a human.
Yes. Yeah. The late
Yeah,
nights dealing with kids tantruming or being grumpy, and yeah, things like that too.
yeah. And on the same vein, you've done a lot of things in your life, Amelia. I'd love if you were comfortable to share maybe um, one of the most challenging times you've had and how you navigated that. And I asked that because there's something that I heard that I really think is really powerful. And the saying is the hardest thing you've experienced is the hardest thing you've experienced. And your heart and my heart are very different, but it doesn't negate anybody's heart. But I'd just love to know, if you're comfortable, what is that moment in your life when you're like, damn, the world is not my favorite place, and how did you get through that there?
Honestly, it's not even work stuff.
Yep.
Like it was when I lost my baby.
Yes.
Like even physically, oh, it's horrible. Mentally, I didn't even eat like for days, and my family and my friends were like, "You okay?" And they were kind of worried about me. And actually, that was not normal. That wasn't actually okay. So that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with in my life. Yeah, yeah, horrible. I think even as well, like your hormones when you're pregnant, and then it was just all gone. It was gone as soon as baby was gone. It just changed me. Um, but got through that with friends and family and support, and yeah, and I talked to someone about it as well, which was very necessary. So that was good. And I took time off work and just focused on me. And more recently, one of the hardest things I got to, my dog passed away. So that was,
Oh,
it's actually so sad when your pets pass away. Um, so yeah, I think stuff like that really puts in perspective what you actually care about. I mean, I love work and I love entrepreneurship and the businesses and everything, but really what matters is family and the people that you care about, and life and that sort of thing. So that would be the hardest moments so far.
yeah. And about thank you for sharing both of those and my condolences, about the passing of.
Oh,
I'm
thank
not going to
you.
say your pet because they're part of your family, right? It's a whole different world. And but
Yeah.
what's really profound again is when we take away everything, we take away job titles, we take away our businesses. At the end of the day, those biggest challenges are those personal challenges which come from the heart.
Yeah, exactly. And the world still carries on, so you have to still
Yeah.
follow, meet all these deadlines and tick everything over. So that's hard. But yeah, I think in the scheme of things, like I'm really lucky to still have all my family here and still have all my really close family, and my parents are still here. So I'm really lucky and thankful for the world I'm in at the moment.
Yeah. And I'm going to flip it now to the high. Again, you've done all these amazing things, and obviously you're an amazing mum, you're an amazing entrepreneur. If you were to siphon on one thing that's been like, wow, this is pretty epic, and I did it, what would that be?
It's a good question. Um, Honestly, I think being in business through some of the hardest economic years is huge, and I'm extremely proud of myself to be able to carry it through for the past almost 5 years for Little Rainbow and 6 years for Robinson. Because there have been times where you second guess yourself and you think, oh, this is so hard, and spending drops, materials randomly go up, fuel crisis, COVID, recession, and it's wild. And you wonder, what am I even doing? Can we get through this? And we have. So that I'm just so proud of getting through some of the hardest times in our lives and the whole country, like as well. It's not just us that were struggling at that time, it was everyone. So getting through that is such an achievement. And I got to remind myself that
Yeah.
should be thankful for keeping afloat.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that there, because sometimes we forget, it's easy for us to go into the challenges. We forget to celebrate that win. And, it's just, again, it's the narrative out there. Just go, 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 go. But let's stop and actually go, wait a minute. Phew, this is pretty epic what I've done today, or yesterday, or the last 5 years. So thank you for sharing that there.
Thanks. That's okay.
And Amelia, we're going to come towards the end of the podcast, but I feel like if there's anything you'd like to share that I haven't explored, is there anything you'd like to share with our listeners that you think would add some value to them?
Yeah, well, I think overall you can do anything. Like I'm just a mum from New Plymouth with 3 kids.
No
Like I'm
just there's no justs in this world here, Amelia. There's no justs.
yeah, but you know what I mean. Like I'm just
Yeah,
another person. I'm an everyday mum and nothing special. I didn't go to Harvard or anything like that, I didn't get stuff handed to me. I had a plan and jumped in and took a massive risk and managed to figure my way out into starting a business and like running staff and Robinson Building as well. So I just think if you have the right attitude and the drive to do something, you can, and you can do anything.
I love that, and I'm going to say this. In my world of coaching, I hear the word "just" so many times, and I always tell people you cannot use the word "just." I know,
Yeah.
I know what you're implying, but I was like, hey, that's one of the most disempowering words in the world, because once you say the "just," you've already put yourself into a container. But again, what is a reminder is out there a lot of people in the same situation where they think this is who I am, and therefore I haven't done X, Y, Z, or been to ABC, therefore this can't happen. And as you have shared and shown, that it does, you don't have to have all those things there. You just have to believe in yourself as well, and believe in the decisions you make. And if it's a bad decision, actually, let's rephrase that. There's no such thing as good or bad decisions. There's just an outcome. And if the outcome is not what you wanted, you deal with that there.
Yes, and not going to the extreme worst case scenario as well. And being like, okay, well, if this business fails, what's the worst case scenario? My accountant asked me that, and I was like, well, then I'd have to sell the house. I'd have to, like, I thought I would literally have to sell all my assets and I would be screwed. And he was like, calm down, Amelia. No, the worst case scenario is you would have to go back to work. And I was like, yeah, you're right. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But it's just funny how your brain can go there.
Yeah, which is why it's important to have those perspective people, right? Whether it's an accountant, whether it's a coach, whether it's whatever in your life, to have somebody that just brings you back, because we all do that there. We all run away. Yes. Someone just rein us in and go, actually, let's stick to the canvas here. Go.
Exactly. Yeah. Find people that you connect with that can bring you back. And then when you can as well, be that person for others.
Totally so true. Amelia, our final question is a question I love asking every single one of our guests. Our podcast is called Baskets of Knowledge, and you've shared a lot of knowledge, especially in the last phrase there when I asked you about things. But we always invite our guests to share one piece of knowledge to put into our basket. And we'd love for you to share a piece of knowledge that comes from any part of your life that you think our listeners and even myself could take away and maybe implement in our lives.
Yeah. So my thing is do it doubting. So to tackle anything in life, and especially imposter syndrome, do it doubting, because you always have that doubt, but you just got to do it anyway.
Oh, I love that. Mic drop moment. Do it doubting. Do it doubting. I love that. And it's so true. Every single one of us doubts things, and when you doubt things, you don't do it, but do it doubting. Beautiful phrase there. You should patent that there. Or you should have a T-shirt that has that there. Yeah.
A T-shirt. Yeah, I'll add it to the collection.
I can see a whole apparel brand. Oh, just saying. If you become famous, just saying we heard it here for the first time.
Maybe we're onto something there.
Exactly. Who cares about Huffer? Here we go. Do it doubting. Boom. How good is that? Yeah. Awesome, Amelia. Thank you so much, Amelia. Any last words before we close off the podcast today?
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, if anyone wants to chat or reach out, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I'm always open to catching up for a cuppa or even a virtual Teams call.
Amazing. But also, let's talk about how people can find you if they want to get hold of Little Rainbow.
Yeah, we're on all the socials. littlerainbow.co.nz is our website, and I'll have to link all the handles.
Yeah.
I think it's Little Rainbow NZ.
No, totally. We'll put that onto the show notes as well, so people can jump on and they can support you, or they can see all the cool things that you post as well.
Oh, thank you.
No worries. Amelia, thank you so much for jumping on today. One of the things that I have taken away from today is, at the start I spoke about being connected and being present, and it's really interesting and very noticeable that in every single thing that you've achieved in your life, you've had to be connected and present. Being a mum, being a business owner, working, every single one of those require you to be both connected and present. And if you weren't, none of those would have been successful. So you're a true embodiment of someone that has taken that and just lived it, whether you knew it or not. It's really, really beautiful. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
My pleasure. And for listeners out there, hopefully you've enjoyed listening to this podcast. Hopefully you've learned something. And hopefully you're going to implement something into your life that's just going to make that change there. And as always, don't forget to put something into your basket of knowledge. Don't forget to find a reason to smile. And as Amelia said today, do it doubting. And things are going to change for you. Till next time. Bye, everybody. Kakite.
Thank you for listening to Baskets of Knowledge.
Yeah, we hope that you found something useful to put into your basket of knowledge. And as we said before, remember to put something little into your baskets of knowledge every week. And as always, feel free to like, comment, and share this podcast. Thanks, everybody. Bye.